Oi oi, it's your boy Hawka back with another video, and I may be in desperate need of a haircut, but that's not going to stop me making content. We're going to be doing something slightly different today. We're going to be creating the best teams of players based on every letter of the alphabet, if that makes any sense. For this, we're obviously going to be ignoring languages, and we are going to be trying to make a semi-decent team so that in-game leaders get some love. Speaking of, you may be asking why I decided to make this, and to be honest, I don't really have an answer for you. I guess this is what happens when you're in quarantine, as well as this, by the way. So yeah, let's just jump in. The first team to make the list is you. You know that song, Forget You? Yeah, that's pretty appropriate here, because this team is very forgettable. Turns out, Ustillo and a bunch of players you've barely heard of isn't a recipe for success. On the upside though, if you're a player at home whose alias begins with you, you've got a chance of making this team. Hey, see what I did there? Oh, and another upside, I think we finally found a team Ents can beat. Guys, Ents fans, it was a joke. Please don't hate me. In at number 25, it is the letter Q. This team I would describe as questionable, and that's me being polite. Kiket's a bit better than Ustillo. He's still playing on a top team, and I've at least heard of Questone and Queenix, but just because I've heard of you doesn't mean you're any good, and this team sucks. Moving up to the next letter, which is Y. At least we finally got some names you guys probably know. I've always liked Yura. I think he's a good, aggressive player, and Ye is decent, although we have had to bring YNK out of retirement, which isn't exactly ideal. I also doubt YNK will be too happy to come out of retirement to join this team, because it's not a great squad. The next letter on the list is V. Veni Vidi Vici means I came, I saw, I conquered. Hopefully that's not this team's motto though, because they're not conquering anything. It's a bit of a shame for Valde here. He's been stuck with mostly mediocre players. Valde would obviously have to try and carry this team, but I don't think he's got enough support here. Oh, we've also introduced a bench, and we put Vice on the bench here. Remember him? No? Okay, let's move on. Moving on up, our next letter is I. I don't think this team looks too great at first, but Issa and I Disbalance are both pretty good players, and the other players to round out the team actually aren't that bad either. Infinite and Ints have both been pretty good on their respective teams. I have no clue who would IGL for this team, but I guess I'll just leave it to them to figure it out. Next letter on the list is L. This is probably the most average and mediocre team on this list. There's a lot of known names on this team. There's a lot of players that can fill a role, but they really don't have any proven star players or star fraggers. On this team, you've got Lucky, Lowell, Liaz, Lucas, and Lecro, and instantly when I look at this team, I'm just not filled with confidence. It's like, yeah, okay, you've got some alright players, but I don't know who's going to make the difference on this team. Up next, it is W. Woxic and Wardell are both really good, aggressive AWPers who can take over games, which gives them the edge over some of these other teams. Oh, and WildEdit will always have a place in my heart, just for that one insane game where he got like a 3 HLTV rating against Sean Gares and Echo Fox. I'm gonna be honest, I have no clue how the triple AWP setup would work. I think if I were coaching this team, I'd probably just get Waylander to drop AWPs all the time. But yeah, I think Woxic and Wardell could just about make it work between them, and all you need is for them to pop off to carry some games. Up next, we have G, and this one was really hard to judge. We've got two smart in-game leaders in Glaive and Golden, so it's a question of do they have enough firepower to deliver on their tactics? And considering Glaive might be the best fragger on this team, I'm going to go ahead and say no. Gratisfaction hasn't been in great form in recent tournaments, even though he's normally an okay AWPer. You could take Guardian from the bench if you really wanted to, but he's not filling me with confidence. I think this team would be a really frustrating one to watch. You'd have lots of good ideas, probably some good team play, and just not enough firepower to execute them. In at number 18, we have P. I think this team is pretty decent, actually, and it's a very fresh team. A bunch of the best players have been recent up-and-comers. Plopsky's been playing well on a NIP team that isn't all that inspiring, so he definitely looks like a good star player. Poison is absolutely proving himself on complexity, and he's starting to look like the star AWPer that we always knew he had the potential to be. And Perfecto is another decent passive player to add into the mix who can win some clutches for this squad. And you never know, Dirty Peak Pete might come back and have one of those 30 bombs again that he dropped against Envy back in like 2016. But I'm not going to be holding out hope for that one. I think this had the makings of a pretty good team, but it's let down a bit by Pleasant and PTR, and you don't really have many other options, sadly. In at number 17, it's the team on the list that I hate the most. It's Zed. I have no clue how to rank this team. Obviously, ZywOo is unreal, and his nonchalant personality suggests to me that he's going to be great whoever he plays with. And let's be fair to some of his teammates, Zen has been super solid on a rising Godsent team, and both Zoking and Zora are no slouches. They've both been star players on lesser squads. You also have Zeus on the bench, who I was so tempted to put onto the team, just so that he could have played with both Simple and ZywOo. But honestly, I'm too scared that Zeus would do something dumb like take guns away from ZywOo, so I decided not to. I think this is the team I'm least sure whether I've ranked correctly, so let me know in the comments if you think I got this one right, got this one wrong, or if ZywOo is just going to carry this team even higher. Up next, we have O. Looking at this team now, it might actually be worse than Zed. I guess it depends what you think about some of their up-and-coming players like Obo and Otto, or Ottend, I don't know how to say the dude's name. I personally think Otto is pretty good. I think he used to be a bit of a streaky AWPer. He used to be a bit inconsistent, but he seems to have found his consistency now. The jury's still out on Obo. I think he's obviously skilled, but he's not played at the top level for too long. And then you also have the vets of Oscar and Olaf, who don't really look like the players they used to be. Oscar has been nowhere near as good as I was thinking he would be on Sprout. I thought he'd be hard carrying this squad, but it's not really materialized. And Olaf has had his own struggles recently on the FaZe Clan roster. In at number 15, we have H, and I've resisted the urge to put myself into this team. Instead, we're bringing Hunden back, baby. I mean, to be honest, you could probably have Hobbit in for Hunden and have Hampus IGL, but there's no fun in that, and Hampus has been playing better since he's transitioned away from an IGL role. Also, I wanted to see my boy Hunden on a team again, even if it is just on this dumb made-up list. Hunter has been very good on G2. He's probably still a bit underrated right now. And I also think Hauzerk is a good player, even though we haven't got to see him on Dig so far. I'm expecting big things from him. So I think this team should have enough firepower to make up for Hunden, who will bring his superb structure as an in-game leader. And then you also have Henny and Hampus as decent players to fill out the squad. Not bad overall. Up next, we have X, and this team ended up way better than I was expecting. I had to add in my own laugh track because I figured none of you would laugh at that at home. Seriously though, I think even the roles work out quite nicely on this team. You can have Xantares and Exapower as two aggressive players. Exapower has one of the best opening kill ratings on HLTV. Then you've got Zipex and X7, who might have a bit of an overlap as more passive players, but we all know how good Zip is in the clutch. And Exist might have to play a bit out of his comfort zone and join the entry pack more often, but I could actually envision this team working okay. I think they are missing a proven top tier fragger though. That's probably what holds this team back the most. In at unlucky number 13, it is C, and we're starting to get to the competent teams now. This is another team where I envision the roles working out pretty nicely. You have Cold as your superstar passive player. We know how good Cold is. Then Cirque as your second star is a good aggressive AWPer. I think Calix would have to step up to be the third star player of this squad, but he's probably capable, and with Coldzera and Cirque ahead of you, you don't need to put up massive numbers. Chris J is always a really nice player to have as a fourth player, as almost a luxury. He's got some veteran savvy in there. He's got some insane ability to just randomly pull out some ridiculous round wins. And then Cadian's an okay IGL, although he'd have to give up the AWP a bit more than he'd probably like to. Overall, not a bad team. I think it's just held back slightly by Calix and Cadian, but pretty good all round. In at number 12, we have ourselves R. Rops and Rain are the clear headliners of this team. Rops is one of the most consistent stars in Counter-Strike right now, and Rain has had a pretty good resurgence recently, and he's starting to hit his stride again. RPK is solid as a rock, especially as a CT anchor. You could definitely make a case for putting one of the bench players like Refresh or Roy instead of someone like Rez, so you've got a couple more options with this squad as well, which is always good to have. In at number 11, it is T. Ooh, we're starting to get some really good players now. I think this team would be kind of cool just because Tabson would finally get some more support with Twists alongside him. I think Tabson has got to be one of the most talented players out there who's not been able to achieve anywhere near as much as he should have. We all know how good Twists is. His aim is unreal. Unfortunately, the rest of the team is pretty mediocre. Tarek has not been playing at his best for a while now. Twist is quite an underwhelming AWPer for me. I've never really been too impressed by him. And even though historically, Taco is one of the best support players in Counter-Strike, right now he's just looking okay on MIBR. And I think on this squad he might struggle because they haven't really got an in-game leader with a proven track record here. Alright, into the top 10 we go with number 10, M. I'm looking at this team now and thinking it might be slightly too high, but screw it, I'm going to go with it. Magisk is great, definitely a top 10 player in the world, maybe even top 5, and he's got MSL to help set up a system for him. Madden is a really exciting up-and-comer who I think has got big things ahead of him in his future. He's already showing good stuff on Godsent, and he's still pretty young in his career. And Mantu has been super surprising as to how well he's adapted to play on OG and to prove he belongs in a good team. I think Mir's spot could also be changed out here. You've got up-and-comers like Moose and Mayan on the bench who are young and have a lot of time to develop, so there's loads of options here with this team. In at number 9, we have ourselves Jay. I think there's two ways you can go with this. You can stack skill and have Jame as your in-game leader, or you could trade out maybe someone like JW for Jerry on the bench to in-game lead. Either way, JKS and Jacob is already a really good duo, with JKS being somewhat similar to Tabson in terms of being a very skilled player who hasn't been able to accomplish as much as he probably should have considering how good he is. And then you've got a couple of other nice pieces like JW, like Jax, like Jame, and then Jerry on the bench if you want him. I think they're probably missing a truly top tier in-game leader to put them higher on this list, but considering J is not a very common letter, I think J-Gang should be proud of their placement on this completely pointless list. Moving on up to number 8, it is A. Alexi B's leadership would probably carry this team higher than it maybe should be based on the names. I think Acor is a good AWPer and more importantly, a great team player. His utility usage is surprisingly good for a sniper. So I think that would help Alexi B set up his system. And then you also have Amanek and Automatic who are pretty good, and Automatic in particular is a pretty intelligent player. I think you'd also be switching Automatic back to the rifle here and just let Acor do the primary AWPing. You've actually got loads of IGL options here. You've got Alexi B, you've got Alex, you've got Azza, and if you're really desperate, you've even got Alu. There's something kind of perfect and poetic about how Alexi B is directly above Alu on this graphic, which I didn't even plan. Up to number 7, we have ourselves D, and the teams are starting to get really dangerous now. Device and Dupree is an unreal duo that probably should be higher on this list, but sadly, they don't have much else to work with. I mean, Daps is a decent in-game leader with a proven track record, but Draken and Dennis are probably both past their best, which is, I think, proven by the fact neither is technically on a team right now on HLTV. At least they have Dick Stacy on the bench, though, for that sweet, sweet sticker money. In at number 6, we have ourselves F. Frozen has developed really nicely on mouse sports, and he actually has the best T-side rating out of any player on a top 10 team in the last 3 months, which is a video I'm going to be looking at soon. And then you've got guys like Flamey, Forrest, and Fur, who all have proven track records, even if Fur hasn't been on a great team as of late. Flusher would probably have to IGL, which is maybe a bit of a question mark, so you also have Fallen on the bench as an option. And then I think Flit is another underrated player who you could definitely slot into this team. He's a fairly passive player, but he's easily the most consistent player on fours. Up to number 5, we have ourselves the B-Boys, which I've just realised is maybe not the best name. Here in the UK, we have this dumb word called Bum Boys, which maybe some of you foreigners can look up if you're interested. This is the first team that I think could legitimately be a top team, a real competitor in CS today, and they're only 5th on this list. This is also such a new school team. If you went back to 2016, I think none of these players would even be here. Breeze and Brolan are both great. I think they're two of the players that have had the fastest rise to becoming legit stars. Brocky has been really impressing for FaZe recently, which is not something I was expecting when he came onto the team, because he just looked like an average player on Epsilon, but he's come into his own on FaZe Clan. And then I'd probably just let BlameF focus on fragging and give Boomich the reins to play as an aggressive IGL to set up some of his more passive stars like Breezy and Brocky, and even BlameF used to be passive as hell on that old Epsilon squad. This is the first team that also has some sick options on the bench. Bentet and Bubsky are both very, very worthy contenders for this lineup. Moving on up to number 4, it is K, and I think this is the letter that's most surprising to be this high. I mean, K isn't normally a letter I'd associate with names, but man, this is a good squad. Any team with Carrigan as an IGL is instantly going to be good, is instantly going to get a bunch of credit from me, but he has some really good pieces to work with here. Kenny S may not be back to his best, but I don't think he can ever get back to his best because of the AWP nerf, and he has been great recently. Crims is about as reliable as he is bold. He has been so consistent throughout CSGO. Keserato's another good player, although he could have some overlap with Crims since I think both players would prefer to play a bit more passive if possible. And that's actually why I put Config in as the 5th man over Kierby, to have a bit more aggression in the squad, to add a bit more fire to this team. And again, overall, this would be a quality team if it was actually possible and if this wasn't just a dumb video I was making. Starting to get serious now, guys. We're into the top 3. The bronze medal for the Alphabetti Spaghetti CSGO Awards goes to the letter E. Even though the bench for E sucks, this starting 5 is stacked with firepower. Electronic and Elige are both incredible riflers. That would be an unreal duo. Ethan has proven himself to be a pretty good player throughout NRG/EG. And then Esperanto is a very skilled player who doesn't have to do as much on this team because he's got so many stars in front of him. Esatag would probably have some work to do, making sure all these guys can play their best and get their spots, but he's a versatile guy and has in-game led in the past. I think Esatag would definitely be taking a bunch of the roles that no one else wanted to play, but even then, some of the stars would probably have to sacrifice some of their spots. Still though, just the raw firepower of this team would be overwhelming for most opponents. So if you know how the alphabet works, you know we've got 2 letters left, and in at number 2, it is S, coming in 2nd place. Let's be real, Simple propels this team nearly to the top of the rankings. Also, by the way, look at the bench on this squad. This bench was so good, I couldn't even make a 5-man bench. I had to include a couple of other players. Simple obviously picks himself, but Stan, while an okay in-game leader, could definitely be swapped out for Steel, and if we're assuming Steel is unbanned in this universe, I might actually take that trade. I put Som in the starting lineup because he's the most in form out of these players, and because he's still a young guy and can learn a lot. Sergey's in there because while he obviously has not been at his best recently, he's on a bad team and I think he would almost certainly improve on this squad and play better. And Stewie is obviously a good player who I think would probably be willing to play quite selflessly to set up Simple. If you got someone as good as Simple on your team, I think Stewie's doing everything he can to win and to make sure Simple is playing his best. If you're older than 5 years old, I think you probably know the alphabet. You probably know what number 1 is, but I'm going to build up the tension anyway before revealing number 1, and it is N who take the top spot. Again, really tough to pick which team would be number 1, but the fragging of these first 3 players is just unbelievable. Nico is an incredible star player. Naf has been very good, even if he's maybe dipped recently in form somewhat. And Nexa has been a good fragger on G2 while in-game leading for that squad. And while G2 I don't think are doing anything crazy tactically, aren't doing anything exceptional on that front, I think Nexa's simple style of in-game leading would suit this star-studded lineup. And Nexa's, for me, pretty underrated for his in-game leading and fragging ability. Nork has just been okay so far on NIP, but he's definitely a guy that shows promise. And then Nitro is a second IGL option who I think again would play to the strengths of the skill of this team, and he's another pretty good fragging in-game leader at that. They've also made number 1, despite the bench kind of sucking. Like, MBK is probably the best other option on the bench. NATO Safix, I guess, is in there as well. But it's the starting 5 here that is really OP. I think I edged them at number 1 because they just have the most well-rounded, skilled roster, and they have one of the best players in the world in Nico. I just had to give it to them in my head, but I think these top 3 teams are very close together and could be interchanged pretty easily. So guys, which ones did I get right? Which ones did I get wrong? Let me know your guys' thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed, because even though I probably spent way too long making this silly list, I've had a blast making it, and I've been trying to switch up my content recently and see what sticks. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Cringe.